They have a combined 12 years in the National Football League. They combined for 65 career sacks, 232 tackles, 1 Pro Bowl selection, and 1 Employee of the Month award.
That's just a straight shooter with upper management written all over him.
It's Train and Grose on the All AZ Podcast Network.
Welcome in, Train and Grose. Episode number 53. It's our Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Edition of the podcast. Recording it a little earlier. Regular listeners, thank you very much. Know that we typically record this on Wednesday evenings, but holiday schedules and whatnot, we're going to adjust a little bit. And here we are Monday night after a weekend of NFL football, college football, lots to get to.
Yeah.
And like we always do, you know, we don't do a deep dive or recap, but we look at kind of the high points of the local team, the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
And, you know, traveling up to Seattle, and they decided not to play Kyler Murray again. And all the doom and gloom, oh, my, because Colt McCoy looked so bad against Carolina. Well, it was the Colt McCoy that played against the 49ers showed up and got a lot of help. A.J. Green played well. James Conner continues to impress. Zach Ertz back into the game plan.
Defense was dominant.
And the defense was dominant. The only thing that looked bad for the Cardinals, and it's been good all year, we haven't talked about it, so if you don't talk about special teams, it's a good thing. And you're sitting there going, man, missed an extra point.
Yeah.
Man, missed 2 field goals.
Yeah.
Man, if it comes back to haunt them, but they played well enough that the miscues by – I don't even want to say special teams. It was just the Prater, the place kicker. He didn't do his thing, and he's usually reliable.
Yeah, no doubt.
But they came away with a win in Seattle, your favorite place.
Yeah, my favorite place with all of the artificial noise. But before we get started with all of the real talk – today is the 22nd. It's my dad's 74th birthday.
Hey.
So I'm thankful. Since we were doing Thanksgiving, I am thankful for my dad because without my dad, there is no me. Yeah. I have to be thankful for him.
Absolutely.
Because without him, I'm not in this form.
Without my dad, there's no me.
Yeah. Without you, there is no me. So I'm always appreciative.
That is very true.
Of my dad.
Hashtag facts. That's kids say.
You know what I mean? Hashtag facts. That is absolutely
That's
right.
absolutely
Happy
true.
birthday.
Happy birthday, Dad. I know you don't like that publicity stuff, but we love you, brother.
Very nice. Very nice indeed.
Yeah.
So back to that.
Yes.
I was trying to think of a clever segue off of happy
That's all
birthday
right.
to your dad.
That's all right.
And I just
Well, the
couldn't.
gift that kept on giving was the
Perfect.
Seattle Seahawks.
There you go.
Yeah,
Perfect.
there you go.
Yeah, and you could tell, and we talked a little bit about this beforehand, and we'll probably do a deeper dive into it, is this the beginning of the end in Seattle? They've been on such a dominant run in the NFC West, but you could see it on the face of Pete Carroll throughout that game.
And then on Russell Wilson, too.
You saw it on Russell Wilson, but apparently Pete Carroll had a little bit of a meltdown, Pete Carroll style. It wasn't like
You can say Pete Wilson.
I almost
put them
did.
together. They have the whole thing had a meltdown.
Pete Carroll had a little bit in his Seattle-ish kind of way.
Hold on to that.
Thank you. Where he got up and walked out, said he doesn't have anything left to say. Then he came back in and apologized, said, sorry, I know you have a job to do, and talked to him a little bit more. But frustration nonetheless from the head coach who's been on a nice run since he landed in Seattle.
Without question, and I think for him, this is probably his first time really experiencing any kind of bad will, if you will. Like I heard the 12 booing for the first time. I hadn't really heard that in a long time.
Couple times throughout the game,
They were booing. They were not happy, and seeing Russell Wilson kind of look defeated. Like he's usually that corny kind of cheery, that uppity guy. Hey guys, we can do it. Go Hawks. That whole thing, which is a little cornball, But I got love for Russell Wilson. It is cornball though. But I didn't see that Sunday. I just didn't see that last night. And I think for the first time, I saw a lifeless Seahawks team.
Yeah.
And a team that just they believed that they weren't going to win this game. And I can't ever remember whether on the road or at home, especially at home, that team having that look about them. And you brought up Pete Wilson. Could this be the last time we see Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll on the Seattle Seahawks sidelines in 2021? Will they bring this back in 2022?
Well, Cardinals are going to see him again, I think, at the end of the year.
Well, but I'm saying,
but this season,
we're saying this is the end.
Yeah.
Do you see either of those guys coming back next year?
I think you have to take a long, hard look at the constitution of this team. And we talked about it last week, leading up to the Cardinals' trip to Seattle, where they made some decisions and they paid some guys, and it didn't work out. And then they kind of painted themselves into a corner in terms of what they could do, right? And it shows you how difficult it is to keep a team successful the way the NFL is structured with salary caps and the rest. Sometimes you make hard decisions to let guys go for longer term good. But I think the Seahawks missed on several of those. And so it may be time to back it up, tear it down to the studs, and start over. And if you do that, Pete Carroll, we talked about it. He's 70 years old.
Oldest coach in the NFL.
Does he want to be part of that? Even if you want him back, does he want to be part of that? And Russell Wilson did enough to indicate before this season that, if we need to move on and you want to send me someplace else,
I got 5 teams.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I got 5 teams, as a matter of fact, that I want to go to. But then it's a ripple effect. It's not just Pete Carroll. It's not just Russell Wilson. What do you do with Bobby Wagner? This guy has been the symbol of consistency for not only the defense but the Seahawks. Because even when Russell Wilson wasn't playing, Bobby Wagner was still man in the middle, still being his productive self, making tackle after tackle and continuing to guide that ship, whoever it was that was playing around him, as far as that former Legion of Boom defense.
No, as I said, there are a lot of tough questions. I was reading the Seattle newspaper, getting ready this morning. Don't tell my boss, but I was just multitasking. And they talked. The Seattle paper said the Seahawks are 3-7, leading only the Detroit Lions at 0-9-1.
Wow.
For the bottom of the NFC standings and a race for that first-round pick in the upcoming NFL draft. So that's where they're at right now in Seattle with people that cover this team day in and day out. So that's where you're at. So I think, to your point, there are a lot of questions that need to be answered, starting with the head coach, starting with the quarterback, but including guys like Bobby Wagner that, to your point, I don't know how much he has left.
But does he want to stay around for a rebuild, though?
That's my point. Does he want to stay around for a rebuild?
I say no.
And if he does he have something to offer somebody else at this point if he were to move on?
Yeah, I think he's still a tackling machine. I think he's a guy, he still averages about 10 tackles a game because there's nobody else making any tackles for the Seattle Seahawks. And when you are that hardwired to be that productive, I think he still has a lot left in the tank. I think what they ask him to do, as long as he's not having to guard a lot of speedy running backs out of the backfield in pass coverage, I think he can still be a very serviceable zone type of drop linebacker and a guy that's just, you put some big hogs in front of him, a la Ray Lewis back in the day towards the end of his career. You bring everybody around him and just let him do what he does best. I think he could flourish in that type of system.
Bobby Wagner will be 32 at the start of the next NFL season. On the other side, though, the home team, again, on the road without their starting quarterback and
without their top receiver.
Without their top receiver and others. And, this team is undefeated on the road.
How about that?
This team has beaten 4 playoff teams on the road from a year ago.
How about that?
By double digits.
That's right.
Right? And they're doing it, again, without starting quarterback, without DeAndre Hopkins, without Chase Edmonds, and you could go on and on, talk about that. J.J. Watt kind of got people fired up a little bit last night when he tweeted out maybe, and I think people read that to mean maybe he's coming back, but it was his comments that he made.
Maybe we're just blanking better.
Maybe we're just better. Yeah. Maybe we're just better. And I heard
blanking better. Yeah.
Blanking better. We could say that on a podcast.
I know. I'm just trying to be nice to the folks who don't want to hear that on the YouTube page.
There you go.
That's a good point.
Hit the subscribe button while we're at it.
We go back to it, and myself personally, and we've had conversations about the GM. He did some things this offseason that are really paying dividends, and it starts with the backup quarterback. Because a year ago, if Colt McCoy was on this roster a year ago, they probably would have been in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know how well it would have gone, but what caused them to miss the playoffs was quarterback play down the stretch.
Yeah, and I think you look at other positions, I think the thing that makes his job that much more glamorized, if you will, for this year was the backup running back was James Conner. He was supposed to be the backup running back, but he leads the entire NFL in rushing touchdowns right now with 13.
Right.
So for him to have gotten those 2 gems and to implement them into the team and see them do what they've done, It's been very impressive. And I got to always give a shout-out to the pass rushers, to my man Marcus Golden and Chandler Jones. They showed up in a big way yesterday. Chandler with 2 and Marcus with 1. Marcus getting double digits for the 3rd time in his career.
Yep.
For those that don't know, to get double-digit sacks in 3 different years is very, very difficult to do. So big shout-outs to the junkyard dog, Marcus Golden, on still being productive at this stage in his career.
And there's still a lot of football left to be played this year. It's not like he's like sneaking in at the very end of the season.
No.
Like there's a lot of football and a lot of meaningful football left for this team to play.
Or having just one of those explosion games that inflates it once you get to the end of the year. He's just been consistent, right?
Yeah.
2 here, 1 here, 2 here, 3 here.
Game after game, he's been Mr. Consistency, and I think it's made up for a lack of pass rush otherwise without J.J. Watt, without Chandler Jones at times. I just think this unit, they've done a great job, and you got to give Vance Joseph a lot of credit because he's been able to put players in great positions for them to be successful. They may not actually look like the best players at their position, but what he's asking them to do, they have shown that when they are put in positions like that, they can actually flourish, and everybody looks better in that situation.
Looking at the box score, 7 different guys caught passes yesterday. So they had 328 total passing yards yesterday.
He threw the ball 44 times. When have you ever seen a backup quarterback throw the ball 44 times?
To 7 different guys. And nobody went over 100 yards. So you talk about distribution, spreading the wealth, whatever you want to call it, or flip around. Like if you're a defensive coordinator on the other side trying to slow him down, well, we'll take away Zach Ertz. Well, we'll kill you with James Conner coming out of the backfield or whatever it is.
Or how about guys, so he threw the ball 44 times. But you look at some of the statistics mixed in there, 11 receptions by Rondale Moore, total of like 55 yards, which means they were all within, 5-6 yards.
They're running plays.
Right. They're essentially, it's very West Coast, old school West Coast offense mentality. You know what I mean? But it's very safe as well for a backup quarterback.
That's right.
And still keeps the defense, off balance in terms of where you're going to hit them. So I thought it was a great game plan.
Absolutely.
Keep the completion percentage high.
Yep.
And a guy who was signed by this team, and they're like, oh, he's old. What has he got left? A.J. Green yesterday. The one guy they did stretch it out a little bit. He made one spectacular catch down the sideline to, I don't want to say bail out Colt McCoy because the guys on TV said it was a great pass.
He bailed him out 3 times.
But
because the one you're talking about was a 3rd and 5 in the second. It was like their 3rd drive of the game. Mm-hmm. The first drive of the game, it was 3rd and 8. They get a PI call down at the 1-yard line because he went up over somebody. Yeah. He had a couple
Ball was underthrown.
Mm-hmm. He had a couple of nice grabs over the middle on balls that were a little bit high, very easily could have been tipped or sailed. And he played what I just said. He played big, physically and literally, or literally and figuratively. He played big, and I think that was everything you were hoping to get when you brought him in.
No, absolutely, and we could keep going down this list, but the question I have is, obviously you've been in locker rooms, and I had to run errands immediately following the game, so I hopped in the car, turned on the post game show on the flagship.
Yep.
And they were interviewing players post game.
Sure.
And it kept coming out words to the effect of, "Man, I'm just having fun. Man, this is a good locker room.
Sure.
Man, I like coming to work." Things like that.
Yeah, when you're 9-2, you're going to have fun. You're going to enjoy going to work.
Well, my question is, does one create the other?
Yes.
Like, at what point?
Chicken or egg?
Right, exactly. At what point does the attitude create the record, or is it the record that's creating the attitude, I guess is my question from your perspective. Because I bet you could probably tell us the opposite story as well, where you would wake up and go, damn, man, I don't want any part of this, but I got to go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There were lots of years where I felt like that. But I think for this team, I think the attitude had to be there first because they came out of the blocks with adversity. Mm-hmm. J.J. Watt goes down very early in the season, and then you have COVID rearing its ugly head, coach is not available, all these types of things, and yet they're finding ways to win. And so then now they're able to overcome those situations and still find success. Then the attitude definitely picks up, and now there's that confidence because now it's like no matter what is thrown at us, we're still going to find a way to go get this done. And I think for this team in 2021, this team feels like no matter what is thrown at them, they're going to figure out a way to get it done because 9-2 is very impressive. And this is the question that I have. With the rest of the schedule that they have left, they've got 6 games left. Can this team really get the number 1 overall seed in the NFC? They've got a 1-game lead over Green Bay. Thank you, Green Bay, for going down to Minnesota.
And Dallas.
And Dallas. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, and they've got a chance to even further, even if they finish
New
tied
Orleans,
with Dallas.
thank you.
They can, but they've got Dallas still remaining on the schedule coming up the first Sunday of January. They already, if they finish head-to-head, obviously we know what happened to Green Bay, and there's comments out there that perhaps Aaron Rodgers is dinged up, and I don't know if it's
worse than a turf toe. I don't know what's worse than a turf toe.
I was just going to say, what's worse than a turf
Doesn't go away.
I don't know.
We can break down the schedule.
No toe is worse than turf toe.
But again, you can answer this question better than Sean and I can.
Okay.
Bye week. It's late, but the way things are playing out for this team.
Perfect.
It's
perfect.
So number one, there's that. But how did you, when you were a veteran, how did you approach and use the bye week?
So when I was a veteran, when I got to about my 5th, 6th year, my last year in Denver, I turned the bye week into a no-shoes week. I did not put on shoes at all that week. If I had to put on shoes that week, it was a failure on my part. I understand that there's honeydews and had to get the kids to school and all these different things. I can do that in house shoes. I can do that in slippers. I don't have to put on real hard bottom shoes in order to get that done. So my whole goal was to spend that entire week, however long we had off, depending on the coach and depending on the record. At 9-2, you're going to have a much easier bye week than you would at 2-9, if that makes sense.
Oh, no.
So the fact that they're 9-2, I'm sure Coach Kingsbury is going to give them some time, and especially with Kyler Murray playing it beautifully and how he was able to get these 3 weeks off and get the bye week. So you basically had a month off to heal yourself and be ready for that stretch run down the stretch, these last 6 games, to get this home field advantage. I just feel like if they do less is more. Don't go home. Don't go back to your school because you're not going to get any rest. This is the part of the season, Mike, where you're basically on nuts and guts. That's all you got left because 6 weeks left. You trying to get to the finish line by any means necessary. You got to figure out how can I get these 6 wins in 6 weeks to assure, because we talked about this at the beginning of the year. 15-2 was going to be that number for the number 1 overall seed. They're right in line for that number right now, but they cannot afford to give away any of these games coming up. And I think the schedule is actually doable considering all the teams that they have left on the schedule. So they've got to do their part in making sure that their bodies are physically in a position to where they can go through this stretch run and give it everything they got in preparation for January.
Yeah, you mentioned it. They got the bye week. Then they're at Chicago, home against the Rams, at Detroit, home against the Colts on Christmas, at Dallas, and then they finish up at home with the Seahawks. So that's how it lays out in front of them. And, the only game that weather is potentially an issue is the game against the Bears. Detroit's a dome. Dallas, they got their stadium. And then your home games. So, all this, to your point, it lines up. And the only team I look at on there and say, look, obviously you know what you're going to get with the Rams. The Colts are the surprising team to me, how they're playing down the stretch. Dallas could be right in that conversation still.
I think their running back is an MVP candidate.
My goodness.
5 touchdowns, 200 yards on the road.
50 fantasy points for yours truly yesterday.
Wow. Congratulations.
And you still lost, huh?
No,
okay.
50 points from one guy, and boy.
And
I was like, if you lost with that, I need to see the rest of your roster.
I said, please. So we'll see down the stretch, right? But yeah, all right. Looking at the rest of the NFL, to the point, and why we can have this conversation with a little bit more confidence right now is there was some interesting results yesterday.
A very weird week.
AFC, man. What in the world? Help me understand the Titans and help me understand the Bills.
Can't. Well, the Bills lost to a good Indianapolis Colts team. They're a good team.
But the Bills are on a trend right now that I don't think people expected. I guess to your point, yes, but I'll say but.
Yeah, they've lost 2 of 3 and to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
To Jacksonville and to Indianapolis. Those were supposed to be the teams that they are climbing in order to get to the top of the AFC.
And the Titans were supposed to take serious, but their 3 losses this year are against who? Cardinals in week 1. Okay, new coordinator, new all kinds of stuff. Okay. The Jets.
The Texans.
And the Texans.
Yeah.
We're supposed to take you serious? You're the 1 seed right now, but we're going to take you serious going into the postseason tournament? You got those 3 losses on your schedule?
I mean, everybody gets a clunker. We've talked about this.
2 of them, though?
Hey,
Jets and Texans.
Hey, we had 3 and we went to a Super Bowl. I can think of as far as they weren't just bad losses because of the teams that we played. The scores were lopsided, and that what the hell's going on? I mean, we had some 40-somethings to not or to very little. So you can overcome it. It's just about what kind of team and what kind of DNA do you have to be able to overcome
if you're a Buffalo fan, you wake up today and you're like looking at the standings going, how did we let the Patriots back in? And I don't know anybody right now that wants any part of the Patriots.
Why would you? They're getting healthy. They're getting confident. And Bill Belichick looks like Bill Belichick of old.
Bingo.
And, Mike, we saw this coming. We talked about this last week.
Yeah.
They're a team that they treat the first month of the season like it's preseason. They're trying to figure out who they are. He's trying different lineups. He's trying situational football to see what his team is all about.
Getting his rookie quarterback
acclimated to the NFL. And now, not only does Mac Jones look like a real NFL quarterback, but the defense is playing like they're supposed to play. They're shutting people out on the road. I mean, granted, it was the Falcons on Thursday night, but still, that's an NFL team, and you're in Atlanta shutting them out in front of their home audience. So they are impressive right now.
The game to watch this weekend, since the Cardinals are off, the Titans are in Foxborough. So there you go.
Man, listen, if you're Buffalo, you have to be like, man, what do we have to do to win this damn division? We just knew this was our year. Brady's gone. Cam Newton's gone. We don't have to worry. This team seems like they're in disarray. They got a rookie quarterback. We've got our all-world quarterback. And here we are, and they're right where they were last year looking up, or last 20 years looking up at the New England Patriots being on top of this division.
The Bills and the Patriots have not yet played this year, so that will be obviously fun to watch. Okay, and then over in the NFC, Cowboys lose yesterday.
Packers lose yesterday. Thank you very much. The Saints lose yesterday.
Looking at the card, if you're a Cardinals fan, it's kind of fun to be able to obviously focus on what the Cardinals are doing, but then do that scoreboard watching.
Can we say go Giants tonight?
Absolutely, you can. If you're a Cardinals fan
against Tampa.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's a team that all of a sudden looks. I won't say.
Usually teams with Tom Brady and that much talent and quality coaching staff get embarrassed one week. Usually watch out that next week.
But they're on a two-game losing
you got
streak.
the Browns. I mean the Giants.
No, I'm not.
I think this one gets out of hand.
Well, it might get out of hand, but I like the idea of them having to come to us come January.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what Mike and I are talking about. We're talking about big picture. Yeah, they're gonna right the wrong just on pride alone. They're not gonna lose 3 straight. That's not what Tom Brady does. He doesn't lose 3 straight. I don't think ever, maybe once in his career.
No.
But when you start talking about these losses, these are the ones you start to lament. It's like, damn, if we just done what we were supposed to do, we don't have to go on the road.
Right.
And now you've got to go on the road the way it's shaping up to come to Arizona. All roads lead through Arizona to get to SoFi Stadium. And if that's the case, I'm saying there's a chance.
Hell, the Cardinals are 6-0 on the road and 3-2 at home. Maybe you don't want that one.
No. Playoff home field advantage is something. Trust me.
Different.
On that. It's
different feel.
It's a different beast.
Yeah.
When you got that stadium, when State Farm Stadium is rocking, and they've got those extra seats in the red zone, that's an atmosphere unlike any other.
And I get what you're saying, Sean, but the other option that's still out there and possible is a trip to Green Bay.
Oh, I was kidding.
No, obviously, but for whoever, but
Yeah.
because everybody's like, well, Tampa went there and won last year, but Green Bay, and it's a week later this year, a week later into January.
No.
So you don't want any part of that. So
no.
There you go.
I don't want to go to Dallas. I don't want to go to Green Bay. I don't want to go to Tampa. Let everybody come here because the TV screen is going to be nice and clear. The surface is going to be nice and green and fast for everybody to play fast. So you want that. It has that bowl feeling, you know what I mean, where you go to a bowl game in nice weather because you got the nice surface. Everybody, the uniforms look nice.
Yeah.
The only green that you get on the uniform is your pants when you fall on the ground. You know what I mean? The uniform stays pretty much intact.
But speaking of which, you put some stuff on social media when you play for the Broncos. Do you like the blue-on-blue Bronco uniform?
We talked about that. Tell the story you told me in the pre-show.
So the Broncos had done a uniform change in 1997. Mm-hmm. That was their first year. They won the Super Bowl that year, by the way. John Elway did not like the blue-on-blue, and so they never wore it. We had just got our ass kicked by the Raiders the year before in 2002 when Rich Gannon and the Raiders went to the Super Bowl and he was MVP. So we always played them on Monday night. We went to Coach Shanahan and we said, Coach Shanahan, we got to do something different. We want to wear the blue on blue. And we want to just send a message to our fans and to the Raiders that this is what they want. So we came out and warmed up in the white pants. And we went in a little bit early and came back out in the blue on blue, and people lost their mind. So segue into what I posted earlier today on Instagram and Twitter, that was the very first play of the game. And from that play on, that game was over.
Wow.
We knew from that play that they didn't want any part of what we were bringing to the table. They didn't match our intensity. They were having all kinds of issues with Callahan. You had Rich Gannon going at it with Callahan on the sidelines. It was an absolute mess. Lisa Gutierrez.
There you go. Yeah.
Lisa Gutierrez.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding.
So when I think about that, we wore it a couple of times. The 2 times we wore it was on Monday night against the Raiders and then against the Patriots later on that season.
Nice. And last uniform question.
Yeah.
Keep them coming. I love uniform questions.
I honestly didn't know. This is me. I didn't know the head coach was the one that made a decision on uniforms. Is that universal? So
No. Sometimes it's the owner. And if you've got enough clout, I mean, Mike Shanahan had enough clout. He lived right next door to the owner. He lived right next door to Mr. B. So he had that type of relationship where Mr. B trusted him.
Okay.
With all the decisions. All he had to do was just collect the checks and collect trophies whenever it was time. So there was a lot of synergy between the two of them.
Favorite jersey you ever wore? And you can't say Notre Dame. That one's awesome. Pro jersey.
The throwback Bronco, the Orange Crush.
I was just
the Orange Crush?
The Orange Crush.
Do you still have that helmet?
I still have the helmet, the jersey, and the pants. Are you kidding me?
That helmet.
I kept everything.
So how far throwback was it? Was it the one to blue helmet with the D?
The blue helmet with the D and the horse.
Because they also have the orange with the old school horse. Remember that one?
Yeah.
So you're talking about the blue helmet with the
like the 80s Broncos.
That was classic.
Classic.
That was classic.
The white face mask, classic.
Right.
I lived in Denver for some of that, and I was not a huge. Classic. You either loved the the Broncos or hated them when you lived in Denver.
That's right.
People there hate the Broncos.
Well, people that come from out of town.
Gotcha. I never met one. I love that fan base.
It's and I've told this story. My first ever game away from Detroit was Mile High Stadium, South Stands, Raiders Broncos.
Wow.
So there you go. Yeah. And growing up in the Silverdome, watching average football to that, I mean, I was hooked. But don't get me wrong. But it was if you're not a Broncos fan in that town, it's over the top.
Yeah, it's tough.
They're
hiding in the bushes to tell you what John Elway's giving away on Halloween night.
There are few NFL atmospheres that have almost like a college vibe.
Yeah,
that's one of them
that
for
is
sure.
Definitely one
I've been there 3 or 4 times. Love it there.
Yeah,
and come. Please.
Yeah, it's wah, wah, wah.
The Barrel Man, all of it.
Yes,
all of it.
R.I.P. Barrel Man.
The horse. Only one mishap, I think, with the horse.
What happened? Hey, what happened?
Well, let's just say he or she was full, and nature called.
It happens, man.
A run. Yeah.
I think I told you guys my first job at the arena.
Time out on the field.
So was this during the game?
This is like during warm-up.
Pre-game?
Oh, okay.
Throw a flag on the play. Clean up on aisle 3.
Yeah,
would you like to be that intern?
I was that. I was about to say I was that guy for the Rattlers. Wow. I think I told you guys that, right? My first job in the arena when I was running audio for the Suns, Rattlers, and Mercury, when I was just the assistant, trying to keep myself in there, not even getting paid, just doing it to have my foot in the door. We used to run a buffalo onto the field from time to time when the Rattlers scored.
Buffalo.
A real buffalo. His name was Harvey Wallbanger. So they'd put it, swear to God, they'd put a cheerleader on the buffalo. He'd run out there.
A cheerleader on top of it?
Yeah, with the trainer guy, you know what I mean? But they'd go flying out there. So I would be in the tunnel on a headset, and my boss would say, hey, if we score in this possession, we're sending out Harvey, get him ready. So we get the cheerleader on there, everything.
Harvey Wallbanger.
How the fuck you get a Harvey ready?
Yeah, but
wake his ass up.
I'm between.
Give him some smelling salts.
I'm between.
Harvey, let's go, man.
This tunnel is probably about 8 feet wide.
That's a buffalo,
and
man.
that damn buffalo is probably 6 feet wide. I'm up against the wall like this. But every game, like clockwork, he'd do what that damn horse did, and guess whose job it was in the end zone.
But see, they had a little satchel that they had, right there underneath the tail that
usually catches it.
Caught it. Oh yeah.
And I mean, I had a shovel.
But when you're galloping, the trajectory
doesn't exactly match, right?
And lastly, since we're talking about historical or back in the day, did you see the USFLs come back?
I did.
They're coming back with original teams.
Wow.
Original cities.
I just want to see the Houston Gamblers. I need that. I need that helmet in my life.
And they're back.
I need it.
And all the teams are using the original logos.
I need that helmet in my life.
Are they? I thought I read over because this was breaking kind of over the weekend. Did I read that they're going to start this and play every game in one location?
It sounds like they're going to take baby steps out of the chute.
Just to get there, that's a great idea.
Because they're saying, well, always they play at the Pontiac Silverdome or what?
Right.
No, they're going to play in one location to be determined.
Mm-hmm.
But how many different days?
We'll find out.
Multiple.
The details are limited at this point.
Because there's only 8 teams. So you're talking 4 games. You can knock that out 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, flip it the next week or whatever.
The Panthers, the Generals, the Stars, the Maulers, the Stallions, the Gamblers, the Breakers, and the Bandits all back. And we'll see what it looks like where they're playing. Arizona and Denver did not make the cut.
Which is
That's
fine.
okay.
Okay. Our market's too saturated for people to care. You know what I mean?
That's all right. That's okay.
Denver, no, though. That one surprised me.
Denver, yeah.
Anybody out there in social media land, listen, if you can find me that Houston Gamblers helmet or jersey, please, just one time for your boy. I don't ask for much. I'm asking for that one because I need that one in my life. That is as classic as it gets because I used to have a poster of Jim Kelly because Jim Kelly was the quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think did we play for a championship or did we win one? I think he may have won one and played for another one. I'm not sure. It's a little murky because I was in middle school, I believe.
You want to hear fun stuff, like coming in full circle on this stuff. My dad did some work for the owner of the Michigan Panthers back in the day, so we got to go to games.
Wow.
And I have don't ask me why. I have a ticket stub and something else from a game at the Silverdome. Back when it was Bobby Hebert, Anthony Carter, they did play for a championship.
Yeah.
And then come full circle a while ago, got a call from somebody said, hey, when I was doing the show with you, and they thought I was a radio celebrity, and they said, hey, we need you to come on the radio for us to preview something, and it was Bobby Hebert's show.
Wow.
And I was like, are you kidding me?
Of course.
I said I would do
what
that
time and
all
when?
day long.
All day long, bro.
So, yeah, absolutely. And I think I threw something out there. I said, thank you for having me on the show. Watched you play in the Silverdome throwing balls to Anthony Carter. And
That's right.
Broke the ice.
That's right. That's right.
We'll step aside here on the other side. Sorry to say, no chaos in college football. That's coming up next on Train and Gross.
Train and Gross.
Welcome back. Train and Gross. Give us a follow on Twitter. This is very easy. At Train and Gross. That's how easy it is to find us. No college football chaos, B-Train. People have been calling for it, a way to shake things up, make some changes. It ain't happening.
So you're saying we should just wait and be patient, let the season play out?
Well, I for one, would love to see it happen a little bit.
2021, no.
I'd like to see it happen a little bit, but the teams on the field ain't going to make it happen. Oregon.
Bye-bye.
Oregon, I don't know what they did in Salt Lake City.
Got their asses kicked is what they did in Salt Lake City.
Does that make you feel better about the ASU game?
No, it makes me feel worse because
30 minutes is all it took.
Yep. When they returned that punt at the end of the first half with no time left, forget about it. It was over. But no, for ASU, Gross, to answer your question, they needed them to win in order to stay alive. You know what I mean? It turns out it doesn't matter anyway. You got beat down by Oregon State, but you needed Oregon to win. And then for the Pac-12 overall,
it's a wrap.
Just as a conference, you needed them to win.
Strength of schedule, they're getting killed.
No, absolutely. I mean, we can dissect this any number of different ways, but the Pac-12, again, their relevance is faded once again. And I was joking around on another radio show that I do, and I said, look. The athletic directors in charge of finance around the Pac-12 need Oregon to win this game because it's been a long time since the Pac-12 and therefore the member institutions has received a check from the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not in, you don't get to share that money.
They hadn't been there since the first year, right? When Oregon
2016, right?
Washington made that one trip as well.
Right.
Is that 2016 maybe?
Something like that, yeah.
So we're talking at least 5-6 years since they've been in there.
It's been a minute.
And, you can go back and say, well, whatever, too much SEC, and you might be right in that regard. But the Pac-12 isn't doing anything to bolster their case.
No, and it feels like they're not even close most years. Most years you're not even talking about them this late in the college football season when the rankings come out. Like, they're usually not even a thought the last handful of years. So it's just unfortunate for the conference. And this kind of thing seems to happen every year where it's self-cannibalization. Like, somebody else within your conference knocks off the team that should be there. You know what I mean? I think ASU did it a couple of years ago to Oregon. Oregon was, I think, ranked third at Jaden Daniels' freshman year. Knocked him off.
If it doesn't happen for Cincinnati this week, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I agree with that, too.
If it doesn't happen for Cincinnati this week, we'll know in 24 hours where the University of Cincinnati stands. If they are still 5, they're not making the playoffs.
AP poll is out, and it's not. I mean, they're separate, but they mirror each other.
To a degree.
And they've moved Cincinnati into 4. But the question is, man, they got Notre Dame nipping at their heels. And
but they got the head-to-head, though.
No, exactly. And so, if you're the college football playoffs, you want Notre Dame instead of Cincinnati.
But who's 3 over them? Who's 3 over Cincinnati right now?
In the AP poll, you've got Georgia, Ohio State,
Okay.
Alabama.
Yep.
So Alabama
Georgia.
slid,
and Georgia.
and then Cincinnati.
But wait, Georgia?
That's your top 4. Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Cincinnati.
Okay.
So there you go. And if you look at it, we did this last week, where the loss is going to come. And I don't think I certainly didn't think that the Oregon loss was going to come to Utah. In fact, I felt as though Utah had the clearest path in based on what they had left. Georgia and Alabama seem to be on a collision course for the SEC championship game, though Alabama does have to play, they call that game the Iron Bowl coming
Egg Bowl.
up. Is that the Egg Bowl?
I think it's the Egg. No, that's
Who?
Mississippi
Alabama,
State. The Iron Bowl.
Auburn
You're right.
is
The
Iron
Bowl,
Bowl,
yes.
yeah.
Ohio State, I said, well, look out, they still have to play Michigan State. 49-0 at halftime.
And they got to play Michigan.
Now they got to play Michigan, and then they'll have to play
Big Ten championship.
Iowa or Wisconsin in the Big Ten. Cincinnati, the only thing they've got left is the AAC championship game, and they'll play Houston. They're undefeated Houston, I believe. Undefeated in the conference, 1-loss Houston, excuse me. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know AAC football or I know the Houston Cougars, but that's what it looks like, is that Cincinnati's got to play 1-loss Houston. I don't know. Houston lost to Texas Tech and has run the table since then.
Did Ohio State have the most impressive win?
Oh, my goodness. They were leading 49, and they scored every time they touched the ball.
Yes.
And then they called the dogs off.
Yes.
They said, we're done.
Yeah.
Go home.
Go home, and I think they were still fighting for a shutout because I think they wanted the 56-0.
Yeah.
They wanted that goose egg, and somehow Michigan State didn't cooperate. But everybody talked about Ohio State being part of the biggest loss.
Oregon,
as far as the most impressive win as far as Oregon in the Big Horseshoe. But then I think they were able to erase that.
Well, isn't that the thing, though, in college football?
You had to. They had to.
If you're going to lose early.
Lose early, and you better have a statement win at the end to make sure people have no doubt that you're one of those teams that deserve to be in that playoffs.
And they had Purdue, and everybody was saying, well, Purdue's the giant killer. They dropped 60 on Purdue. And then Michigan State, Mel Tucker, and his new contract after they beat Michigan.
Take home, that with you.
Take that home, Mel Tucker.
Yeah.
And now, to your point, they got Michigan, and that game's in Ann Arbor.
Jim better be careful.
Jim better be careful because
they're gonna pour it on. They're not gonna call the dogs off.
There is nothing that I saw in Michigan and Michigan State are very similar teams. I think Michigan's got maybe a little bit better skill players minus Kenneth Walker, but still I think very similar. And they had no answers for Ohio State on Saturday.
They better be careful because I'm telling you, if they put 56 on Michigan State, they'll want to put 70 on Michigan.
They won't call the dogs.
They
off
will not call the dogs off of Michigan. Yeah. And Mike, let me ask you this while we're at it: is Stroud the Heisman candidate? Is he the favorite right now?
And it's so funny when you have these things kind of ebb and flow week by week. We were talking about Kenneth Walker after that Michigan game, but who finishes strong? And to your point, he's got to be, doesn't it?
I think it's going to be the last impressive performance. Who has the the latest impressive performance is going to be the person that walks away. Because right now, aside from them two, Mike, I can't think of any other Heisman candidates.
No,
I mean, who else would you put in there?
The kid from Texas was kind of in the conversation until he dislocated his elbow.
But unfortunately, Steve Sarkisian kind of, he took.
Well, they couldn't win the big games, and if you don't win games, you're not going to be there. Though he was putting up impressive numbers, and like a dislocated elbow.
Yeah,
that sounds like it hurts.
That's not, yeah.
No, I mean he's got to be. I mean I'm with you. I mean we couldn't easily come up with a list of
2-horse race,
right? So
somebody on defense. Is there somebody on defense that's impressed this year that maybe could be a dark horse?
There hasn't been that Charles Woodson moment, though, has there? Like, and look, this is and we want to segue away from this into the rivalry talk because this is rivalry weekend.
Yeah.
And that's when Charles Woodson won it. He did it in the rivalry game.
Yeah, did it against my little brother.
Against one of the most iconic games.
Yeah.
And to this day, when
they still show clips
when
of
they
it.
do the Heisman highlights.
That's right.
They show that.
Yep. And they showed them holding each other's helmets and going back. That's David Boston. That's, it's my little brother. We went to the same high school. His brother was one of my best friends growing up. So it's always funny to see that clip. It looks old and grainy because you got the high def now. It looks
it does
high. It looks like it's like from 1940 something. I'm like, goodness gracious, that wasn't that long ago. That was 97.
I was just going to say back in the 90s.
The late 1900s.
Wait, what's that color?
It's not wrong.
It's not wrong. That's what I'm saying. But it sounds old as hell. The late 1900s. I had a kid tell me that.
I had a kid tell me that.
Mr. Barry, how was it like? What was it like in the late 1900s? I was like, wow.
Mr. Barry too. Yeah.
Mr. Barry. I mean, I'm okay with that because you're not calling me by my first name.
Yeah.
But
that's respectful.
It's respectful, but boy, it made me feel so old.
When he dropped the late 1900s.
Late 1900s.
What year was your son born?
My son was born 2005.
So there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
the context works.
The context is on point, but I mean, it just made me feel so damn old, though. Like the late 1900s. I mean, really? Mike, I felt like I aged about 30 years with one phrase. One question aged me 30 years.
Yeah.
The late 1900s.
I don't want to hear it
My
because,
goodness.
as we always bring up, I'm the oldest one at the table.
Yeah.
Ask me how it was in the mid 1900s.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
My goodness.
Rival week. This is really. I mean, it started last week to a certain degree, but it comes to a head this week, and then we move into college football.
What's the best one?
Yeah, exactly. That's the question on the table, and I'll start it. And we do what we do in these types of conversations. I grew up in Detroit, so you know my answer growing up. My answer growing up was Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah.
And doing a radio show here in town, I got to interview Archie Griffin.
Two-time Heisman Trophy.
Two-time
The only
Heisman.
one.
And he owned Michigan in those games. And I told him, I said, hey, you bring him on the radio show, blah, 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 welcome back. And the great Archie
Appreciate
Griffin
you
of
giving
Ohio
us a few
State
minutes.
because he was in town for the Fiesta Bowl.
Sure.
And I said, hey, I got to be honest, I grew up in Detroit. Didn't much care for you in the mid-1970s. He bust out laughing. And we had a great conversation.
You always need those icebreakers.
Right? But those rivalries.
Something to bring commonality to.
I mean, I haven't lived in Michigan since the
late 1900s.
And I can tell you right now what Detroit radio is. I can tell you right now. Like they would open up the phones, tell us your best Ohio State jokes, and tell us how much you hate Ohio State. Hey, how do you get from Ann Arbor to Columbus? You go south till you smell it, and east till you step in it. I mean, I know these things.
Wow.
That's Michigan, Ohio State.
Wow.
But I'll tell you that I've maybe have pivoted off that a little bit. Because when I was in Colorado, I had the opportunity to work for the Western Athletic Conference.
Colorado CSU?
No.
Oh.
I got to experience academy football.
Oh, yeah.
And I've never
Army Navy?
I've never been to Army Navy. But if you said you can go to your bucket list, right now I'm taking you to whatever college football game you want to go to, you're taking me to Philadelphia or New York or Washington, wherever it is,
they play it.
and I want to see Army Navy. I saw Army Air Force. I saw Navy Air Force. The first time I saw the stealth bomber was flying over Falcon Stadium in Colorado Springs.
That's impressive.
Right? So that and the thing that and I know you've experienced this playing the academies. The respect that they have for each other after the game, where they go to each other's corners, the visiting team first, then the home team, and they sing the alma mater, and they beat each other's brains in for the entirety of the game.
But they stand there in respect,
arm in arm afterwards, and have that respect. So, might put Army Navy up on that list above Michigan, Ohio State.
But is that for nostalgia's sake, or is that quality of play?
It's never quality of play when you talk about the academies. I think it's the whole package.
Because to me, it's when they first come in. The most impressive part about that game is when they both roll in. When you got all of the
core of cadets.
The core of cadets. When they're in lockstep with one another and they're doing their thing. It's very impressive. My dad and my grandfather my dad was in the Army and my grandfather was in the Navy. So they used to go at it. I mean, it was a big time rivalry in my family's house because they both were, part of both of those service academies and it was a great deal of pride for them.
Absolutely it is. Even if you didn't go to the academy, even if you didn't play football,
neither one of them
were
played.
in the Navy.
Yeah.
You got my uncle was in the Navy. And I was at his house in my last trip to Detroit. He was wearing his Navy football sweatshirt with pride, right?
My grandfather, which I didn't even think he was a tattoo guy. I think it blew my mind when I first realized that he had a tattoo on his forearm. He had an anchor.
From his time in the Navy.
Navy. And in World War II, and they take great pride in it, man.
And when you talk about the biggest college football rivalries, people have their list, the top list, the best rivalries, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You played in one of them because if you do, arguably, I'm not going to tell you it's the best, whatever.
Sure.
But when people say, here's our top 5 college football rivalries ever.
You got Notre Dame, USC in there.
Always.
Yeah, you got it in there. I think Ohio State, Michigan is definitely one of those. As much as just by where I went to school, by default, I can't like either one of those schools.
Sure.
But I do respect the rivalry. If you go to just college athletics altogether, then I'm going to say Duke, North Carolina. Basketball is the best and the biggest rivalry because they're separated by 8 miles. They're like Chandler and Hamilton, except they're colleges and they've won their share of national championships. They're very nationally prominent programs. So I love rivalry week, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people at odds. There's going to be a lot of bets being placed this week. There's going to be a lot of people having to do crazy stuff and wear some crazy outfits or wear the jersey of a rival school and maybe have to sing a fight song or something like that. I mean, you know it's coming, Mike.
Yeah.
It's just that season. And I think it's going to be a great time had by all.
Well, and part of the thing we talk about college football and how money's dominating college football and the conference changes and shifts. Going back, and you grew up in Texas, you've talked about this. One of the better college rivalries used to be
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. But if you can stop playing a game because of the business of the sport, then is it really that great of a rivalry anyways? Or flip side, did the business guys just ruin a great rivalry? I don't know what the answer is.
The business guys ruined a great rivalry because with A&M, as we said off air, part of their fight song involves Texas.
Yeah.
Saw varsity's horns off. I mean, they're talking about Bevo, the mascot at UT. They're talking about saw his horns off. So the fact that you have that in your fight song, but yet you don't play that team, it's definitely one. It's something that it leaves you wanting.
Right.
It feels like something's missing, but they're probably going to They're probably going to get to renew that rivalry because they're both going to be in the SEC here pretty soon.
Thanks, business guys, for letting us have it.
Yeah.
Back.
So they take it and they give it, then they take it away.
Well, and with all the ebbs and flows, changes, whatever, Notre Dame USC keeps getting played year over year. It gets played in Notre Dame. It's in October when it's in Los Angeles.
I was sad when they didn't play last year.
Right.
I was sad. That made me sad.
What's your moment? Notre Dame USC.
My moment is 1995. My teammate Kenan Tatum we were on a goal line and he jumps over. He did a Troy Polamalu. He did a Troy Polamalu, met the running back in the backfield, made him fumble, blew up the play, and yours truly recovered the fumble.
Oh, that's the one. You can see that. Speaking of which, that's online. You can watch where B-Train stole his fumble.
Yeah.
Stole his fumble?
Look, the ball was on the ground, and I'm not leaving that up to chance.
You go get it.
You go get the ball, and it would have been had he recovered the fumble, it would have been one of the greatest plays I've ever seen.
He came on the show, and we asked him about that.
Yeah, and the fact that he was able to read it and just at that point, that was something that Coach Holtz never, ever, ever, ever allowed. For you to go renegade and go rogue. Like, Troy Polamalu could have never played for Coach Holtz. because Troy Polamalu's game,
his whole game, it's
was
just feel.
all instinct.
Yeah.
I saw something that was never going to fly with Coach Holtz. If you saw something, you better make the play. And even if you do make the play, if you do that too many
Still
times,
might get it.
you still might be on the sidelines with him. Hey, son, take a seat on the bench right there, son. Son, we do things fundamental way, son. We execute. We damn ass. We can't have your damn ass out there doing things that are going to put our team in trouble, son. Son, just have a seat. Just have a seat. So it was one of those plays where if you didn't know what year it was, it probably doesn't even matter because you've seen it so many times that it will go down in football infamy. And I'm so proud, one, that it was my boy, and then two, that I was able to finish the play and get the turnover for us, because it was one of those that was Keyshawn Johnson and USC. They were ranked number 3 in the country.
Yep.
We needed that win in order to get to a bowl game, and we dominated them.
You said this was 95?
This is 1995. This was October of 1995.
I got the whole 1993 game here, but I'll find the 95.
So you grew up in Arizona.
Yeah.
Sure did.
What's your perspective on this whole rivalry thing?
Rivalry week is Territorial Cup, man. It's ASU U of A.
Was it big here? Was it big here? Was it always been big here?
Yeah, team down south. Yeah, it's had its better years when both teams are relevant. You know, I mean, I was looking at some stuff on this day, type and football or sports things from yesteryear on this day, and in 1986, ASU U of A. ASU was ranked 4th in the country. Went down to Tucson undefeated to play a top 25 U of A team. U of A upset ASU. ASU still went to the Rose Bowl that year. I mean, there were years when it really, really meant something. Yeah. The last couple, 70-7 last year. You know what I mean? It's just, it kind of loses a little bit, especially when the U of A is what it is. But once you kick off, absolutely, that stadium will have a different vibe this week than it has all year long. Even when it was a sellout for USC, there'll be a different vibe start to finish this coming Saturday. And it's a day game at 2 o'clock. So, yeah, growing up here, you get the feels this week regardless, but it is nice when both teams are relevant.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this game used to be hard scheduled into Friday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It was always a day game.
Yeah.
And that's where I got introduced
Miss those
to
days.
it. Right? That's where I got introduced to it, because it was always like a picture postcard day. And then I remember my first time in Arizona for the ASU Arizona game, I was at Turf Paradise. And it was on all the TVs at Turf Paradise. Yeah. And I'm like, damn. I'm in Arizona, and I'm living the postcard view that I always saw in this game.
And you're at the track.
Right.
Well, I didn't have a ticket to the game.
Do what you got to do.
Experiencing all of Arizona.
That's right.
So, yeah. And I think but that's a great thing about rivalries, right? Because I would imagine you played in it 4 times, USC Notre Dame. It didn't matter what the record was.
No.
Like when it's an overused statement. When these two get together, you throw the records out.
But fortunately for me, my 4 years, both teams were pretty decent.
Sure.
My last year, USC wasn't that great.
Right.
But I remember my freshman year, that team was as loaded a team that I could ever remember.
Sure.
I mean, Willie McGinnis, Rob Johnson, Jason Sehorn, Johnny Morton.
Wow.
They were loaded. And we, Mike, when I tell you we handled them, the very first play of the game, we took a run. Lee Becton took it 75 yards to the house. Over.
Right.
Tony Baselli was on that team.
Damn.
They were loaded.
There's some.
I'm telling you.
Every guy you just mentioned, I picture in their NFL uniform.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And they were all on the same college team together, doing their thing. Oh, you saw the play.
I just found the play.
Yeah.
He flies
over the top, yeah.
Oh.
Meets him in the backfield. You see the ball just blow up.
Boom. Ball pops straight in the air.
I saw it. I pounced on that thing like
Bang.
Like it was peach cobbler, baby. You know what I mean? I was all over it.
The other thing that I like about rivalries too is the names. So you mentioned with the Iron Bowl, the Egg Bowl, which I believe is Mississippi State.
Yes, Territorial Cup,
Bedlam, Michigan State, Ohio State. They just call it the game, just like you should know exactly what that is. And ESPN put something out. Even the small rivalries have cool names. Montana State, Brawl of the Wild. Like,
That's awesome.
Right?
That's awesome.
And there's a team.
Civil War,
Bedlam, you mentioned.
Yeah.
There's 2 Division II teams up there somewhere in the Dakotas. They play each other for 140 years in a row.
Yeah.
And they call it the Black Hills Brawl.
Wow.
So the rivalry games that get the cool nicknames on top of it,
yes,
even better.
I think about, as I had more time to think as you guys were talking, I thought about Florida State, Miami.
Mm-hmm. Florida.
Florida State.
Florida, the world's largest cocktail party.
The world's largest cocktail party.
You're from Texas. What do you call Texas, Oklahoma?
Red River Rivalry.
So it used to be the shootout, didn't it?
Yes.
We've cleaned it up. Is
the
that
Red River Rivalry is now what it is.
Yeah, it used to be
It's
the
hard
Red
to
River
say
shootout.
now, yeah.
And that damn river is red, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
I drove over it.
It's red.
It is a red river.
It is a red river. That's right.
I figured it had something to do with the colors or something like that.
You just thought it was a creative name. Turns out the damn thing is red.
The damn river is red.
It's red.
Because it's all of Oklahoma's running off into that river. It's like clay or something.
All that rust, yeah.
All that rust.
Yeah.
Eesh.
All right,
Not
that's
great.
Eesh.
rivalry weekend here in college football. All right, we'll step aside a little basketball talk maybe, and then we'll tee it up. I see the crew working out back on the
Working
pump the
hard.
brakes.
Working hard, Grose. They are.
And then dad jokes still to come.
There you go.
Train and Grose.
Yeah.
Train and Grose.
I think what we're going to do, one podcast,
What's that?
maybe when it's a slow news week or something
just
like that.
outtakes.
Or we'll just come in. We're at Train Station, downtown Phoenix.
We got enough material. We could do an outtakes
We
thing.
really could.
We could
Very
either
easily.
do an outtakes, or we could just
That's
start.
just more work for you, though.
We could just start the podcast one day and just talk.
Just
about
turn it
stuff.
on and just go.
Just talk about whatever we want to talk about.
We
could-
just had, and it's recorded. Maybe I'll put this out there, but we just had a 15-minute conversation about how older NFL players used to look back in the 70s,
Athletes,
60s.
not just football,
athletes
basketball.
in general. Yeah.
Think about the old basketball players where they had the receding hairlines.
Right.
They
Don't
had
talk about LeBron like that, man.
I ain't talking about LeBron, but I'm talking about the dudes that had the fro and it looked like the cul-de-sac. You know what I mean? In the back,
Right. The George Jefferson look going on.
moving on up. You know what I mean?
Well, just so you want to get the context for this conversation, Google a picture of Newt Rockne.
Yes.
And then just let your imagination run wild.
He died at the age of 46.
Yes.
Just keep that in mind.
And then George Blanda was a great call by you.
George Blanda played till he was 48, but the pictures of him were not of his last year. And just,
This man looked like he's 77 years old.
so to keep it in context, all you people out there, I'm 46 years old right now. Drink it in.
Drink it in. Yep.
Oh, I'm just saying.
Can you imagine?
I'm just saying.
We may talk about basketball, we might not. But there's pictures out there of like George Blanda and what was the quarterback? Len Dawson.
Yeah.
Smoking a cigarette on the sideline.
Yeah. And halftime, the locker room
all
was
the time.
filled with smoke.
It's crazy.
He smoked at halftime of the Super Bowl.
Some guys crack open cold ones in between.
There it is. He's puffing the square. That's halftime of the Super Bowl.
Is it
Getting it.
Len Dawson?
I think that's Super Bowl one.
Matriculated down the field there, Lenny.
He's having a Fresca and a cigarette
Wow.
at halftime of Super Bowl
Fresca.
one.
Fresh.
A Fresca.
Nothing like taking the edge off. My nerves are shot. Be that guy, man.
Matriculated down the field, Lenny.
Running through the
There you go, boys.
locker room.
There you go,
Who
boys.
hid Len's cigarettes? Where are Len's cigarettes?
I told you I would give you some. You ain't got to steal. I mean, I'm a generous guy. You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm Lem Dawson. I get up for the big game by smoking Camel no filters.
Wow. Wow. Cool Filter King is of the champions. All right.
There we go. Hey, Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix Suns.
They haven't lost yet.
12 straight.
Film at 11.
Gotta love it.
I mean, and you just line them up and play. It doesn't matter. And it's a story that hasn't changed. So I can't make it. Ever since the story about the owner dropped, they've been on a roll. End of story?
Has that
Causation is not correlation? I mean, I don't know.
Has that been a blessing for them in a sort of way? Did they need something like that to really get them to focus in? I
I don't know, but it's working if that's the case.
Why does that? Why do we need adversity in order to focus in and lock in?
Well, I think part of it, you make a deep run, and the what's the word I'm looking for? Professional sports is littered with runners-up that couldn't come back the next year.
The hangover.
The hangover.
Yeah.
It's most prominent in the National Football League.
Yeah.
But, I'm sure that there was part of that, particularly the way last year ended so late. So late. They didn't get much of an offseason. Devin Booker played in the Olympics after the fact.
Yeah.
But whatever the reason, they're 13-3,
Yep.
and they are number 2 in the West and not showing any signs of slowing down.
No.
They're 10-0 on every number, slice and dice it, however you want to look at it.
But that just shows you how well Golden State is playing, because the Suns are 13-3 and they're not even a top seed.
Suns are 13-3 and they're a game and a half behind the Golden State Warriors.
Think about that. I mean, I know it's only 14 games, whatever, but still, the fact that you are a game and a half behind and you've only lost 3 games in the NBA, it lets you know where that team is. And we've talked about how Golden State doesn't have that controversy around their ownership, but they're having fun nonetheless. And I think that's the big thing. No matter how old you get, Mike, it's all about, do you enjoy doing what you do with the person next to you?
And do you have that kind of outside influence that helps kind of push you along? Because I think everybody agrees, and you hear players talk about it, the NBA season is long.
Yes, it is.
82 games from November to April.
It's a grind.
And then the postseason starts.
Yes.
And so, maybe
November to June. Think about that. If you make that run, November to June.
Maybe Golden State's tired of hearing people saying their run's over. I mean, whatever it is. So, whatever it is, it's working for the Phoenix Suns.
The Suns get the Golden State Warriors 3 times between now and Christmas.
That's one of the Christmas Day games, right?
Christmas Day game.
Yes.
Yep. That'll be the 3rd meeting already between these 2 teams. They get them about a week apart. I think about a week from now, and then they get them for a 3rd time on Christmas.
There you go. Mm-hmm. November 30th in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And then
the 3rd, I think.
December.
Because that's when it gets real.
Yep, December 3rd.
And then again on the 25th.
Yep. Yeah. No, and so
you get a good look at it. I mean, because right now those are the 2 teams playing the best basketball in basketball. And you're going to get a good look at it. And the Phoenix Suns, I think, the last couple games they've put together some complete games, but really for the majority of this 12-game winning streak, they have not been playing in complete games. They haven't played their best basketball yet.
Yeah.
So it's good to see DA's finally getting back, getting himself into the groove. And then if you look at their box score night in and night out, it's 10 guys playing 10 minutes minimum. It's a deep team. So they're set up, knock on wood, injury-wise, to again be in the mix late.
To withstand it. They're too deep just about at every position.
Yep.
But we got to talk about the story that really is the story in the NBA right now, and that's LeBron James. When I look at LeBron has done his best to represent everything that is good with the NBA, and really what's good of being a professional athlete. You're talking about a guy that was highly touted coming out of high school. He's somehow outdone that, which I didn't think was possible. Mm-hmm. He's actually excelled what was talked about. They called him the chosen one coming out, and he's actually gone past that. Like, he's actually done better than that. And he's never been in any trouble. Everything that he's done has been positive. The only thing people try to hold against him is the decision to go to Miami, to take his talents to South Beach, which that wasn't even the issue. It was the way that he did it. It wasn't the decision itself, because I'll always defend South Beach or Cleveland.
Right.
South Beach, Cleveland. I'm going to get paid more in South Beach, and I don't have to deal with Dan Gilbert. I'm going to South Beach. I'm going to play in front of all types of beautiful people, and then there's Cleveland. No diss to Cleveland, but you look at his career; he's played it perfectly up until this point. Last night, I think, was the first time you saw LeBron make an honest mistake.
Yeah,
and not one that's going to cost him his reputation by any stretch, but you saw him do something that was unbecoming of someone of his stature.
Absolutely, and I think the first thing that kind of crossed my mind is it just shows how hard it is to stay at the top of your craft for so long.
18 years.
And whatever else it might be, and again, because he's LeBron James, you just can't write it off as frustration.
Sure.
But here's a team that, made some moves that, at least on the one hand, people are like, oh, good, they made some moves, they brought in some people. But on the other hand, scratch your head around how's this going to work, what's the chemistry, et cetera, et cetera.
The age and wear and tear on the bodies.
9-9 right now, and I think it's frustration. I really do. You look at it, and you could see where it's getting to them.
Mike,
because that was Detroit, man. Detroit sucks. Detroit is a bad basketball team.
And they were able to they were down 10, and they were able to come back and win that game. They won.
They won that game.
They were able to galvanize.
Because the narrative was Lakers are losing to the Pistons, LeBron James ejected, and they came back and won the game.
Yes.
Right?
You saw the others come back and actually do what they were supposed to do.
But I think it's just the frustration of staying at the top 18 years. 18 years.
And Mike, I think, too, the frustration is not just the 18 years, but I think if you were to take it just for this year, here you are, you brought in your boys. If you're LeBron, they've basically given you carte blanche. They've given you the keys to the whole entire operation, other than, cashing the checks, because, Jeannie Buss does a great job of doing that. But the decisions that are made, the personnel that are on the roster, all of those are run through LeBron James. And he tried to get as many guys that he respected around the league that were veterans and really just have I don't know, it almost seemed like a victory tour. Like the Jacksons back in the day when they were all established and doing their things. It felt like, can you feel it? But I feel like right now they're at the point where Michael got his hair caught on fire. And things are kind of going off the rails right now. And you saw that frustration from LeBron James in that free throw when he goes and goes at the young guy. And my thing, Mike, is everybody's going to be frustrated. Mm-hmm. Yeah, your season isn't going the way that you want it to go, but it isn't even Christmas yet. Yeah. Why are you panicking? I think he panicked because I think he sees the way that his team is playing. This is as good as it's going to get. This is as healthy as they're going to get, because once you start getting after Christmas and you start getting those road trips and you're on the road and
Anthony Davis hasn't missed any games yet.
He hadn't missed any games yet, and Carmelo hadn't gone through a cold streak yet, and Russell Westbrook is still playing pretty decent basketball. He hadn't turned the ball over in a couple games. You just wonder, has he come to the realization that maybe it wasn't the best idea to just have a 30 and over squad? I mean, you want them to be professionals, but you got to have some youth mixed in there.
Well, and again, you talk about the physical and mental wear that a guy like LeBron James goes through. When you just talk about basketball, not now all his outside ventures that he's involved in.
But he puts that on himself.
No, I understand all that, but I'm just saying it's real.
Yes.
Right? And if you add it up, and this doesn't even include international games, so Olympics and everything else that he's done as a player. If you just look at the regular seasons that he's played, and the playoffs and the preseason games he's played, this man has played 1,700 basketball games, not including that international stuff.
Oh my God!
And so that is over 21 NBA regulars, 82 divided by that number. He's played over 21 seasons of basketball, and so that wear and tear and
that
he used to do
this
right, exactly, and doing it at the highest level.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
it's not. It's not like he's mailing it in. You can never, whatever else you say about LeBron James, if you've ever watched him in person or watch him on TV,
your money's worth.
Have you ever said, he mailed it in today?
No, he never did that.
So there you go. And I think that's what it is. It's got to be the frustration, to your point. This is as good as it's going to get this year.
Mike, that was a dirty play. And I know we don't want to come down too hard on LeBron James because this hasn't been his MO. He hasn't had a history of dirty play. He's not a guy that comes off as a guy that's just going to do anything in order to get the advantage. We know guys like that in the NBA. He's not one of them. He doesn't have to be one of them. He's so talented and he's so good that he doesn't have to resort to those tactics in order to have success on the basketball court. But if you just look at that isolated instance, and if somebody that had never seen basketball were to look at that, they would say that's a dirty play. That guy needs to be gone. And regardless if it's a number 6 on his back and James on his back, you have to, at some point, the NBA, you have a bigger responsibility to everybody else in the league in order to make sure that it's fair, because everybody around was looking at what was going to happen, what was going to be the penalty, what was going to be his sentence, if you will, and he got a game. He got a game suspension. And I think a lot of people were really shocked by that. I think a lot of people felt that he was only going to get maybe a fine.
A slap on the wrist.
And a slap on the wrist. And also the fact that they were playing in Madison Square Garden for the next game. I mean, of course, you're talking about one of the biggest venues, one of the most visible spots, one of the more recognizable arenas in all of NBA. And for him not to be there, I mean, look, the man has played 17 years, so it's not as if he's only been there a handful of times. I mean, for people to say, well, we haven't gotten our chance to see LeBron James, stop it, because he's been there at least 2 or 3 times every single year.
Like that super concert. Your only chance to see it at
Come
Madison
on
Square Garden.
Come on now. 17 years and maybe once or twice to go to the Madison Square Garden. You've had chances to see LeBron. Let's just stop that.
Absolutely. Basketball heating up. It's not even Thanksgiving yet. All right, real quickly, I'm going to read you a quote, and you tell me what professional athlete
said this.
Okay. And I think you know it because you sent it to me already, but we'll set it up anyways. It's hard to place Tom Brady at the top of the NFL, even though he's won a lot of championships.
Yeah.
There are almost 70 players on each team. So is he playing on every side of the football? I don't know. But if he ain't playing on every side, you got to give the team some credit too.
I think
what is going on with Scotty Pippen?
I think Scotty Pippen, one, he's trying to sell his book, and the timing of it is just too coincidental. And he's saying things that gets him clicks.
Yep.
And he has to be very careful because I think to some degree he's stepping on a lot of toes of people he didn't need to do that in order to sell his book. The biggest one, though, is Michael Jordan.
Absolutely.
And some of the things that he has said, Mike, about Michael Jordan, I don't know why he feels so slighted and why he has such a jealous bone in his body for Michael Jordan, because it's just jealousy. When you say things like that and you know they're not true, it smacks jealousy and it smacks you feel like you didn't get what you deserve. You're a 50 greatest player. You're a 6-time champion. You're an all-decade team player in the 90s. Who has slighted Scottie Pippen?
No.
Who has not given you your flowers while you're here? Yes, you're not Michael Jordan, but who is? There's LeBron James, there's Magic Johnson, there's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. There's
a handful
of guys that are even mentioned with Michael. It's not a slight to not be mentioned with those guys. Those guys were all-time great.
Yeah.
And you are great. If you're a top 50, they just did 75. So you were already in an elite group. All they did was add the bottom 25 to that list, and you still feel slighted.
I can't help but feel that he's getting some bad advice somewhere along the line about.
I think
he's getting bad advice trying to sell the book. Like
he is trying to sell the book,
right? So like whoever his publisher or whoever these people, hey man, say something crazy. And then to your point, I think the blowback on the Michael Jordan comments got to be too much. They're like, damn, we need to pivot off of Michael Jordan. Who else can we kick sand on? Hey, say something about Tom Brady. Like, you know what I mean? Like
But why?
That's my point. But why? All I can see is some little PR intern just like, hey, Scotty, here's what you think about Tom Brady.
But not only
let's
are
run
you,
with it.
yeah, but not only are you doing it against a guy that actually gave you your career, that helped you do what you did in your career. But you're going to lose the popular vote when it comes to Tom Brady and Michael Jordan. They're more liked than you. Like, let's just call a spade, or let's just look at it and call it what it is. Tom Brady is a much more beloved athlete than Scottie Pippen. Michael Jordan is a much more beloved athlete than Scottie Pippen. You're going to lose that every single time.
Yes, you are.
You're not going to get people to be sympathetic towards you because we watch the games. Mike, we're of a certain age. We saw all of the careers of Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. There is nobody that is going to say, oh, Scottie Pippen got slighted. He didn't get all the credit that he deserved. There is no way.
Nope.
Because when the games were on the line, half the time, if you didn't have a headache or you didn't have back spasms or something, Michael Jordan was the one going out scoring 48 and still getting that home. And then when he was sick as a dog, when you had the back spasm, he was still going out and delivering and bringing home a title. So however you want to slice it, and when you didn't have Michael Jordan, you didn't win anything. You didn't win squat.
Yep.
You got beat by Shaq and Kobe when you were with Portland, and that team you should have won. You go to Houston and try to form the I don't know, was it triplets or quadruplets? I don't even know what it was, and that's my home team. So that was a whole mess. Like I still hadn't forgiven them for that one. That was a whole mess what they tried to do.
All to sell a book.
All to sell a book. It just it doesn't make sense.
This wasn't Scotty Pippen previously.
No.
This was, I'm writing a book. Then all of a sudden this stuff started to come up.
Mike, remember during the Last Dance, you remember the moment where Michael Jordan's playing basketball and he raises up his shoe, the Jordans. Oh, by the way.
The Air Pippins?
No, the Jordans. He's got the Jordans on, and he's pointing to him, and he's like, come on back, we need you. Mike, come on back, we need you.
Yeah.
That's what Scotty's been most of his career, and then all of a sudden, at 60 or 50-something, I don't know how old Scotty is. I mean, he's got to be up there, 50, late 50s, early 60s, and now you choose to take this route over a book?
It's a bad look.
I mean, come on, man. For one, I don't think he's going to be able to repair that relationship with Mike because some things came out that Mike keeps all the receipts.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, he look, Mike was the guy to go to the other table and get their receipts and be like, look, let me file these for my income tax return. Like that's the kind of guy as far as trying to generate slights. For him not to go about and give his condolences about his dad. That Mike's never going to forget that.
56.
56.
And it ain't going to end well this go-around.
What you doing, Scotty? Come on. Stop it.
It's that time. We'll step aside here. Pump the brakes and dad jokes.
Yeah.
Coming up on Training Grose.
I'm ready.
Welcome back in Train and Grose. That music means only one thing. It's time to do Pump the Brakes. Sean Crespin.
Yes, sir.
Has the crack research staff brought you the material?
I have it in my hand.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Have it in my hand.
Did we give the interns anything for Thanksgiving?
A lot of football talk. Nah, just a couple high fives. That's good. A little fist bump on the way out. Make sure they know you're there. Number one. Baker Mayfield playing hurt. Not only hurting his team, but himself, considering he still doesn't have a contract.
I'll take
the brakes or not.
Usually B-Train goes first, but I saw an answer to this on Instagram.
Oh, you did?
I did. So pump the brakes on this one.
Is it from his girlfriend or his wife or whatever?
You know what? The rest of the Browns could be as tough as Baker Mayfield. Maybe they could take a lesson about how hard how hard Baker Mayfield is playing.
Wow.
Hold up.
Yeah, she actually said that on Instagram after the game yesterday. Maybe the rest of the Cleveland Browns could play tough
on
like
her
my husband.
Instagram stories with a picture of just Baker with a black background.
Yeah, it was a really good picture.
Rule number one on how to alienate yourself in an organization, Exhibit A. Mm-hmm. I'm not pumping the brakes. He definitely hurt himself. He's hurt his money. He's hurt his bottom line.
Yep.
He's hurt his team because he's not 100%. And I know all of this is based on the fact that he doesn't have his money. If he'd have had his contract, there's no way he'd be on the field.
He'd be sitting out.
He'd be on the bench. Mm-hmm. But he still feels like he has to prove something. And think of this. Baker Mayfield is as competitive as anybody. Look at the other quarterbacks that were recently associated with his alma mater. Let's look at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is on the rise in Philadelphia. They're loving them.
He's playing really well the last month.
Kyler Murray here in Arizona
is about ready to get that contract.
So you were the first of those quarterbacks, and if you're Baker Mayfield, there's no way you want your young understudies to outshine you. So yeah, he's trying to do his thing, but I think he's hurting not only his team, but he's also hurting himself.
So he's on contract for the 5th year, right? They picked up the 5th year option.
They picked it up, but they don't have to extend him after that.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean, it's it, right? Like what can he do next year short of going on some deep run? Because remember, they won a playoff game last year, and they still weren't sold on the kid.
But they looked a lot better last year than what they looked.
They did.
This year they look completely flawed. They look more like the old Cleveland Browns than the new school Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Number 2, the weekly pendulum seems to swing in the AFC. Pump the brakes or not. Chiefs are on top right now.
I'm not pumping the brakes. They are on top. They had the best win thus far, and we talked about it early in the podcast. There were some inexplicable losses this week. You talk about Buffalo with an inexplicable loss.
Titans.
The Titans with an inexplicable loss. I mean, all the way around, you look at now, I will say, the team that's clipping at their heels right now is those good old Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from
our next question.
Aside from them, everybody else seemed to have taken a step back in their play. The Steelers lost as well. So, yeah, I mean, they are the cream of the crop right now.
I'm pumping the brakes, and I'm putting the Patriots there already.
Well, then let me just throw this one out there.
Well, let me just throw this out real quickly. Point.
Yeah.
If the playoffs started today,
I object.
New England's your number 3 seed. Kansas City's your number 4 seed.
Yeah.
So New England's already
Who would
there.
you want to play? Who would you want to play less?
Well, let me throw this out there. Mac Jones could become the first rookie quarterback to win a Super Bowl. You pumping the brakes on that or not?
I'm pumping the brakes.
You are pumping the brakes.
Yes, I am. I think there is at least 2 or 3 teams in the NFC that are better than the Patriots that would beat them head-to-head right now in the Super Bowl. I think at some point we still have to see what they do against Buffalo because they've done what they're supposed to do against the team that they've beaten so far. Not you can't really look at any of their wins and be like, oh wow, that was a surprise, that was an upset special this Sunday. They beat the teams that they were supposed to beat. So if they were to go in and handle business against Buffalo, because they get Buffalo twice in the last 6 weeks.
Yes, they do.
We're going to see what this team is all about. And if they are then a top 2 seed or 3 seed, I mean, now you got my attention. But right now, as it stands, I just don't see them yet as that threat to win it all. They're going to get to the playoffs. I think they're going to be a wild card. And Belichick in the playoffs is always a dangerous proposition, but I don't think they're ready to hoist the Lombardi just yet.
I haven't seen NFL strength of remaining schedule. I know it's out there somewhere, so I'm doing this off the top of my head. But if there's a tougher 4-game stretch coming up for anybody besides what New England has right now, Tennessee, Buffalo, Indianapolis, Buffalo. That's their next 4-game stretch. So that question will answer itself because if they get to that point and are in good shape, they finished with the 2 Florida teams. Yeah. So, what about Bill Belichick if he gets a bye week? He's only a game out of that right now. Wow. I mean, this is the
only one gets a bye.
Only one gets a bye, and he's only a game out of it right now.
How badly does the NFL want a Tampa, New England Super Bowl? They would
not as bad as people think.
They would do anything for that.
You know what? I don't know if that's the best story for this year. I think if you were to let me chew on that one.
I just thought when you started throwing that out there, I mean, when we're talking about Tampa Bay playing, we're recording this on Monday night right now.
In 4 weeks, we'll have our answer. Right before Christmas,
the NFL would lose it for that. Are you kidding me?
Huh?
Can we see some questionable
Because, we've already seen it. We've already seen that play out already. We saw the game in Foxborough.
We saw the game, but not the Super Bowl.
I understand, but I'm saying it's not like it wouldn't have the same luster that it would have been.
Because it wouldn't be the first time?
Because it wouldn't be the first time.
I'll buy that. Coming up on Thursday, we're recording this on Monday, so if you're listening to this on Thursday, Thanksgiving, first of all, happy Thanksgiving. Second of all, we appreciate you listening.
Turn it off. Go
talk to the family, right? Go get a pie.
Yeah, stop it.
But a loss to the Lions on Thursday will end the Matt Nagy era in Chicago. Pump the brakes or not. Never rooting for a man to lose his job, but I think that might do it.
Yeah, don't pump the brakes. Matt Nagy has had an interesting stint as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. You haven't really done anything with your free agent swoops or with your free agent acquisitions, right? You bring in Khalil Mack, and you hadn't really done much with that. Like, that hasn't equaled playoff wins thus far as your tenure with the Chicago Bears. You able to get Justin Fields. It's still up in the air what Justin Fields is going to be, and I think a lot of people blame Matt Nagy for that. Yeah. Because you had a Mitchell Trubisky who was Justin Fields before Justin Fields, and you completely botched that experiment to where now he's a career backup, I think in Buffalo, backing up Josh Allen. Yep. So, and as it stands right now, you've got Justin Fields taking a lot of unnecessary shots as a rookie, and
right there,
he's kind of teetering on ruining this kid. So it's not a good look right now. And if you were to lose to the 0-8-1 or 0-9-1 Detroit Lions on national TV, that may be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
I'm right there with you. You're going to derail the progress that we've seen from Justin Fields
and embarrass the organization.
Right, embarrass the organization. I mean, when you're having your quarterback get his ribs X-rayed game, this is a bad look.
It didn't look like a bad hit either.
I know, but pick up the Sun-Times, pick up the Tribune, or look at it online. I'm reading it right now. Chicago Sun-Times. Bears need to fire Matt Nagy after the Lions game, regardless
win or lose
of the outcome.
Wow.
The other one, players want Matt Nagy gone.
Wow.
And it's almost the opposite of what we were talking about with the Cardinals.
Yes.
About how fun it is to come to work.
Yeah.
It's not a job. We're in this together.
Yeah.
These guys don't want to come to work.
Yeah, when you're losing and it's cold in the Windy City too, that plays a major factor into it too.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of when, not if, this guy's gone.
Wow. I mean, just imagine if you're a Chicago Bears player, you're nowhere near the playoffs, and you've got to defrost your windows before you go into work. So you don't want to be there, and you've got to do extra work just to get there.
Right.
That's a tough existence right there. I was there. I did that in Indianapolis a few times.
Ice scraper.
You
know, you got to put the blue stuff in your car, and you got to get the stuff that doesn't freeze.
And then you got to give it this old action right here where you got to go up with it. You got to get that ice, go up with it.
I don't know anything about that, man. I lived here my whole life.
Yeah.
Did you know there's the
window
juice? Did you
No,
know there's
I don't know anything about window juice.
It doesn't freeze.
It's like antifreeze?
Yeah.
You just dump an antifreeze on your window?
It's crazy.
No thanks,
Don't
man.
miss those days.
Thanksgiving coming up 3 days from as we're recording this right now. You guys know I love my surveys. According to Google. Yeah. What they did is they looked at trends of which pumpkin pie which pie is being Googled the most. Pumpkin far and away leads it. 45 out of 50 states Google pumpkin pie more than any other pie. So pump the brakes or not, pumpkin pie is the best Thanksgiving dessert.
You gonna make me do it, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
Pump the brakes. Pumpkin pie has got to be in the bottom.
It is the worst.
Yeah, it's got to be in the bottom.
Worst.
I mean, look, sweet potato pie looks exactly like pumpkin, but the taste
so much
is
better.
So different.
Three pies that were well. First of all, Grose, you pumping or you?
Last week we did TV shows. You watched. You guys watch Family Guy?
Yeah.
No, never seen an episode.
Baby Stewie. Nothing like pumpkin pie and Cool Whip.
Cool Whip.
Gotta have some Cool Whip.
Are you a pumpkin pie guy?
I will eat a slice of pumpkin pie with Cool Whip on Thanksgiving Day.
It is the worst.
If you had the choice between pumpkin pie and sweet potato, what you eating?
On Thanksgiving Day?
Yes.
You can only have one.
Don't make me choose.
You can only have one.
Okay, what are you eating first?
Yeah, I'll eat them both.
Little bite of this, little bite of that.
I'll be like that guy on TV. My sweet potato pie. But I got to have my Cool Whip.
So you're a pumpkin pie?
On Thanksgiving Day.
Those are the top three, by the way, were the ones you would expect. Pumpkin was number one. Pecan pie, or pecan pie, however you want to say it,
Too much sugar.
is number two. And then number three is apple pie. I'm an apple pie guy.
I love apple pie.
My Nana makes a apple pie,
Love me
man.
some apple pie.
Apple pie is amazing.
Is cheesecake out of bounds on Thanksgiving?
Cheesecake is never out of bounds, dude. Ever. I don't think cheesecake is ever out of bounds.
What do you like on your cheesecake? Like just plain old
Strawberries.
cheesecake or?
Strawberry cheesecake.
I'm a Snickers cheesecake.
Are you? Nothing wrong with that either. Nothing wrong with that.
Snickers or marble.
Yes. Very good.
Marble is very underrated.
Red velvet cheesecake as well.
Oh, red velvet cake.
Anything red velvet.
Yeah.
Just bring it on, dude.
Red velvet cake.
We should
Not out of bounds for Thanksgiving though. I think it's okay.
I'm keeping
it's
track.
a pie.
It's pie.
We should do an outtake show, and we should do a food show.
I'm up for that.
We should do a food show.
We should do a taste.
We should do like
tasting show.
hors d'oeuvre, main course, dessert.
Right.
We could do 3 segments of a show.
Here, twist my arm real fast.
Yeah, right. Cool Whip.
Here's a potential Thanksgiving favorite going forward, or just maybe for the holidays overall. Pump the brakes or not on gingerbread flavored red vines.
No, pump the brakes on anything red vine. No, get them out of
Well,
here.
and pump the brakes while you're at it on mixing and matching. Why do we got to do that?
No.
Why we got to do what's
Red
wrong?
vines?
If you like red vines, why would you want pumpkin? What?
Gingerbread.
Gingerbread flavor?
No.
Well, I thought
They're gingerbread twists is what it says.
No. Get it out of here.
All right.
Red vines all together. Get them out of here.
All right, I'm going to give you the top things that people do when they're attending somebody else's Thanksgiving
Okay.
that drive the host nuts.
Okay.
And I just want your thoughts on these ones. We'll go from 6 to 1. Number 6, don't overstay your welcome. I think that's key.
Okay.
Know when to go, right? We all agree on that?
You should be gone by like 6 o'clock.
Know when to go.
Yeah, about
Right.
6 o'clock is about the time.
30 minutes after dessert, I think is
I'm looking
plenty.
at the front door.
Yeah. I'm out.
Yeah.
This is a big one. and this one's touchy on Thanksgiving because I think there's a fine line.
I got one. Go ahead.
Don't overserve yourself and walk back with a plate too piled high, and now it might be short for somebody else down the line. Don't overserve yourself.
I'm good with that
That's
one.
a fine line, though,
Yeah.
because that's kind of what this holiday's about.
No. Here's how that works. You take one of everything so that you don't upset the host.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
if you skip something, they'll be like, "Oh, you don't like sweet potato casserole?"
Cranberries,
or
get
whatever?
'em the
Yeah,
hell
whatever,
outta here.
Yeah. But you take and then once everybody's had their chance,
All in?
then you're all
That's
in.
fair game, I think.
Then it's.
I think that's fair game.
Hey, Aunt Gertrude,
You don't go with 6 scoops of mashed potatoes on the first round, though.
and empty the gravy boat.
Yeah, you can't be that guy. What was the one you were going to go with?
So my thing is shoes on all the time.
Oh, absolutely shoes on all the time. Who are you? Going to somebody's house and taking your shoes off.
Now some people actually they mandate you take your shoes off at the front door.
Now, that's fine.
But I'm saying if that's not the case and you are
After you get that tryptophan hitting you, you're on the couch, you can't just kick them off, watch the end of the Cowboy game.
I don't want to see the mismatched socks, man. I don't want to see the one with the hole at the bottom. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And then you start playing paper basketball with his mouth.
Right.
His mouth is open. You start trying to get it in there.
Don't arrive early or show up starving. Don't be the guy that's there too early, and then don't show up and start asking people.
I got a problem
when are
with
we
half
gonna
of that,
eat?
though.
When are we gonna eat?
But
when are
hold
we
on.
gonna eat?
But that's what you do on Thanksgiving, though. You save up for that meal.
Do you guys
what you
do you guys pregame the night before, open up the stomach a little bit,
No.
eat a lot the night before, so you're good. You can got a little extra room.
I mean, I'm going to eat all day. Look, Thanksgiving to me is just another day. So I'm not missing a meal just so I can go hard for Thanksgiving.
Man,
I'm going to have breakfast
But
before I eat Thanksgiving.
that's a fine line, right? Because you don't want to
But some people do that though. Some
I know.
people save their whole appetite for a Thanksgiving meal.
And then that makes that other question that much more difficult.
Right.
Like if you don't go all in the first time around and you're starving.
And you're looking over like God,
you're licking your plate.
I really wanted seconds those mashed potatoes, and Aunt Becky's going to take the rest of them.
You're licking your plate clean before people have gone through the first time.
If you're bringing something, don't bring something that has to go in the oven and expect oven space. What's wrong with you? Just bring something that's ready to go.
Bring an apple pie.
Yeah, there you go.
Or
But
a
depending on
pumpkin
how
pie.
far you have to go, you don't want it to be cool either.
It's true. I mean, something that can be nuked, I think, is fair game. But if you're just expecting oven space, they probably got the bird in there. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You can't expect oven space.
I'm with you.
Don't show up empty-handed. Bring something. Even if it's wine, anything else.
Then bring some liquor is preferred.
And this is number one. And I've never had this happen, but I think this is something that
Not the $5 either.
No, don't surprise the host with last-minute dietary requests. Like if you're allergic to nuts or something.
I'm a vegan. What are you
yeah,
serving?
like stop it with that.
Oh,
dude.
I got another one too on that tip. Don't invite uninvited guests.
Oh, that's a big one.
I don't know how that's not on that list.
You're right. It's not even in the top 6.
Oh, I got such and such with me. It's okay. They're
Yeah,
cool, right?
And then they're already at your front door.
Already at the front
Yeah,
door.
you can't even like text them like I'd rather not.
I thought you were going to say something about clogging up the toilet or something.
Well, that too. I mean, you hold that.
I guess
Wow.
that's not even a Thanksgiving. That's a
unless yeah, that's just being courteous anytime you're at somebody's house.
Clark. The shitter's full.
Yeah, he's out front holding up a beer.
Coming in like my man John Witherspoon on Friday. Look, somebody going there for about 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah, and open a window.
Someone with him.
Spray can. But not bringing somebody that's all. That's yes.
Uninvited guests. Like, I mean, it's okay.
You
if wanna
always
carpool
ask
to get
first,
there.
though, right?
Yeah.
You shoot the text, hey, I'm hanging with someone. Can they
If it's
come?
family, the less cars clogging up your driveway, that's good. But uninvited guests, like people that you didn't know was coming, not
Yeah.
on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm with
They
you.
knock at the door. You're like,
Yeah. Who the hell's he's got? Now I got to set another plate? Figure something out.
you?
Forget about that.
Aunt Becky's got to get her potatoes.
Pump the
Yeah.
brakes.
All right, time for Sean to stand up and you do your
All right.
dad jokes.
Wow.
Okay, there we go. Dad jokes. This is how it's going to work. No matter what, when B-Train gives us the weekly dad joke, he's going to get one of these.
Boom.
If it's a good dad joke, it's followed by some laughter. If it's above and beyond, we're going to tell everybody we know. Grose is going to go home, tell the wife, and it may even make it into her class.
Wow.
You might get one of these. But there's always that chance.
Yeah, okay.
It just doesn't land.
We're not
So,
putting that out there.
That's the grading system. Here we go. Where are we going?
Good vibes only. All right. I've asked so many people what LBGTQ stands for, right? I've asked a lot of people, but so far, nobody's given me a straight answer.
Now, I personally like that joke. We might get some emails, but I personally like that joke. You may want to call Dave Chappelle and see if that one's okay.
The previous joke brought to you by Bertrand Berry at BTrain92 on Twitter. My problem is
I like that joke a lot. That's funny, but
my problem is I got to stop watching you.
Why?
Because that's turning into almost as much for me as the
I'm just
actual
standing
joke.
here.
Y'all are the judges, though. I mean, hey.
But he's the
it's
ultimate
fair.
judge. I can laugh or not, but he's got the finger on the button.
But
And
he
I'm just
knows it's
waiting.
funny.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
I like I said, I
You
have
thought
that
about
kind
it,
of
though.
humor.
You hesitated.
No, I was trying
saw
to
you
find the right
hesitate.
button. I was hesitating between this one or even this one because that's my kind of humor.
That's
There
money.
you go.
Yeah.
That's a money
was
joke.
good.
When I read it, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going with
I'm
good
going
one.
with that one. I liked it.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but like I said,
I don't think that one makes the class.
No, we're not going to. No, that one.
No.
Hey, I
man.
got a joke for you.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Morning announcements. Put it over the loudspeaker.
All of a sudden, her school's looking for a new principal.
Oh.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah.
Follow us on Twitter at
YouTube.
Train and Gross. YouTube, you get to see our bright smiling faces.
Hit that subscribe button, man.
And for Sean Crest from Bertrand Berry, happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next time.
We'll holla.